Okay, the last 3 chapters. I'll publish one more video on the art theory of this book tomorrow, so this is not the last one of these videos. So, the end of the book. The climactic scene where they meet Madame and Miss Emily and get all the answers about Hailsham, the gallery, and the deferrals. One quick thing to note before we get into the meat of their conversation is that the first thing Tommy and Kathy do when they enter the house is they look at a work of art. Tommy recognizes right away that it's a landscape from Hailsham. He says that it's the view of the schoolyard if the pond is at your back. So the redemptive symbol of water pops up again, and again, it's the absence of water. It is behind them. The opportunity for life is behind them symbolically and in reality. And that does a good job of setting the tone for the conversation that comes. The other activity going on while this conversation happens, which also has symbolic resonance, is that Miss Emily is concerned about moving a particularly nice bedside cabinet. She's apparently taking it somewhere to sell it, but she insists on it being treated well before that. She puts pads on the corners and so on. Though it's a beautiful object, she needs to dispose of it, and she insists that it is treated well in the process. If you assume the premise that the clones are objects rather than humans, you can see obvious parallels in the way that Miss Emily treats the cabinet and the way that she treats the students at Hailsham. But let's get into that conversation. The important question is, why Hailsham? Why teach them to love art and care for each other and never discuss the donation program directly? We find out that this was sort of a social service project to prove that the clones had souls so that England would treat them better, not, notably, so that they would stop the donation program. That, they say in clear language, would have been impossible. Once people have a cure for cancer, you can't take that away. So the goal of the Hailsham project was to give clones a good life before they have their organs and life taken from them. Miss Emily goes so far as to say that the students were lucky pawns. But the Hailsham experiment failed, and it failed in part because of the Morningdale scandal, which reveals some interesting insights into this community and the social criticism of the book. Miss Emily and Madame generally feel like they were good people who tried to do something morally just. They worked hard, they sacrificed their own happiness, they did the best that they could, and failed at it. That's the way that they see themselves. The way that we see them, and the way that Tommy and Kathy see them, is that they were arranging bedside cabinets on the deck of the Titanic. They weren't fighting for the equal treatment of clones, only that the clones were treated more comfortably. The key issue at the heart of the Morningdale scandal was that people were afraid of being made to be inferior. Like, if genetic engineering could make a superior class of people, they would be, by definition, also creating an inferior class of people. Themselves. And so these last chapters are a powerful comment about charity, power, and privilege. Miss Emily and Madame wanted to work to give them a better life, but an equal life? Well, that's out of the question. There's a power dynamic inherent in the act of charity. There are the people who help, and then there are the people who are helped. One is in a position of power, and the other in a position of weakness. But power is not equal to worth. Miss Emily is not more valuable than Kathy. She just happened to have been born under different circumstances. Miss Emily and Madame are human beings who happen to be in a position where they can help, and Tommy and Kathy are human beings who happen to be in a position where they need help. Miss Emily and Madame want to do something good. They act in service to an oppressed population. They be their guardians and look after them. But they would never consider working to make Tommy and Kathy their equals. This is the fear of the Morningdale scandal. People are afraid that they will be replaced. That fear creates oppressive systems that might include projects that, on their surface, seem charitable or virtuous. Before they leave this house, Kathy and Madame discuss that day that Madame witnessed Kathy listening to Never Let Me Go, and we find out that Madame interpreted that song differently. She saw a little girl, her eyes tightly closed, holding to her breast the old, kind world, one that she knew in her heart could not remain. And that brings together a lot of the themes of this book. The feeling that it's too late, the idea that the pond is behind them, the idea that technological progress has outpaced our morality, the helplessness that we feel when confronted with systems so large and so corrupt that it feels impossible to change them, the apathy and numbness that this helplessness engenders. Madame was shaken from that apathy upon witnessing the scene, but not shaken so hard that she could advocate for equality, only shaken enough that she wanted to support them in a way that simultaneously infantilized them. So our two remaining protagonists leave disappointed. They will live out their predetermined lives, and on their way back, Tommy asks Kathy to pull over to the side of the road. He gets out, and he lets those lessons of maturity that he learned in part 1 disappear, and allows himself a moment of righteous anger. That's not how the book ends, though. The book ends with an extension of the dystopia, where Tommy fears that he will be kept alive even after his body shuts down, and the book gets even darker. Kathy tells him that those are rumors, rubbish, even though she knows that she has no proof of that. And for reasons that I do not know, I forgive her for that lie. I've been critical of Kathy this whole time, and I may have even argued at one point in my class that Kathy could be the villain of the story because it's her kindness and understanding that often needs to be overcome to break this system. To be clear, I was wrong. The villain is many things, and to attribute it to a single source defeats the purpose. But for some reason, I forgive the lie that Kathy tells at the end. What about you? The book then ends with a meditation on memory that we can discuss in the comments. I recorded tomorrow's video before the quarantine, so I imagine that I will look much healthier and have shorter hair. It's on a topic more closely related to the usual art theory stuff that I post here. I hope that you like the book, and thanks for watching and participating.